But I think the people in Korea are not my people, is how I feel. Like, I feel.
Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of Korea Unfiltered. Today is going to be an exciting episode, especially for my Koreans who are, not in Korea. If you've lived abroad or if you were born abroad, I think today's episode is going to be really exciting because I remember I saw this guest forum and I was like, bro, if I was a Korean that was not born in Korea, I'd want to hear this. So I'm super excited to introduce. Girl, I can't speak today. Oh my God. You know what happened? You said it's okay, and my brain was like, it's not.
I'm sorry. It's not okay. You better get your shit together, girl.
I need to get my stuff together. Let's get it.
Okay.
Introducing today's guest, Stacy. Woo, girl. I'm going crazy, huh? Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes. Hi, I'm Stacy Choi. I am a pastry chef. I'm Korean American. I was born and raised in the States. I live in Korea now, and I have been here for about 2 years. It'll be 2 years this September. Yeah. I recently started content creating, so I do. I'm mainly focusing on YouTube, but I also do TikTok and Instagram. I'm a horrible millennial, so social media is really difficult for me.
It's okay. Especially when you have to tackle all this different type of social media. It's not easy.
And I have a very artistic brain, so the editing, the music, the like being trendy is like, oh my God, my brain. It's a lot.
It's a lot for sure. When you have to do all these social medias, it is a lot. But talking about your baking, I remember I stalk my people, but I stalked your baking page and everything looked so freaking good.
You.
Like, have you been baking for a long time? Or?
Yeah, so I went to culinary school right after high school.
Oh, okay.
So I have been in the culinary world for about 14 years. Yeah.
That's a long time.
It's a long time.
Oh, wait, I'm not going to put this in the episode. How old are you?
I am 32.
Okay, because I thought you were like 20-something, but you said 14 years. I'm like, since when were you I was like, jeez.
No, that's okay.
I was like, were you in school since 14? Like, what's going on? Okay, I was trying to do the math.
No, yeah. No.
Yeah.
Sharing my age doesn't bother me at all.
Okay, because some people don't like.
I know it's a weird Korean thing.
Yeah,
I've heard.
Yeah. I'm not going to lie, I don't either.
Really?
In my podcast, I don't think I've ever said like my age.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm always like, Google me. You'll find me somewhere.
Okay.
My age is there somewhere. But saying it with my mouth is weird.
Noted.
And
Noted.
not like it's a problem about aging because I feel like, when you're older, you get wiser. It's not a big deal.
Yeah,
I think
for
it's because
sure.
like I am a model. I don't like saying it out loud.
Yeah.
Just in case a client is
Because
like.
it can affect your work.
Exactly.
That
That's why I don't
makes
say it
sense.
out loud.
Yeah.
But Google me. If you're curious how old I am, Google me.
I got this I have this sideburn white hair.
Yeah.
And I think she's real cute, so I just
She is
leave
cute.
her there. Yeah.
I just saw it now.
Yeah.
I wouldn't take it out either. I'll just be like, oh, she's there. It
Yeah.
shows being wise. It's wisdom. It's
I
giving,
agree.
Yeah. Been here for 2 years, right? So what year did you come and why did you end up coming to Korea?
I came, what year are we in? I came September of 2022. And I guess kind of the background of why I decided to come was I was in a really unhealthy relationship. And once I got out of it, I started therapy. And it was kind of, I had done therapy before, but this type of the therapy that I was doing was a little more like, yes, I was in an unhealthy relationship, but what was I contributing to it? What was coming from me that was making me attract these types of relationships, which made me really dig deep into kind of my roots and my childhood and like where all of this kind of built-in behaviors came from. And so I avoided Korea like the plague in my 20s. It was kind of like the foundation of how I was unable to love myself.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Wait, and why? Like your Korean heritage or just Korea?
Yeah. All of it.
Wow.
Yeah. So
okay.
I loved everything about being Korean, and then I hit 20. And it was kind of like the rose-colored glasses came off, and I saw the reality of everything. And so I stopped listening to Korean music. I stopped watching dramas. I didn't have any more Korean friends. Like I
okay.
completely disassociated myself with my
With your
Korean
Korean
side.
side,
Yeah.
yeah.
I only came to Korea when my brother got married and then when my grandma had passed away. So I came back to Korea May of 2022 because my grandpa had passed away.
Yeah.
And it really triggered something in me. I met my dad's coworker and I was like, oh, 안녕하세요.
Yeah.
And I was like so excited to meet her because my
Yeah.
dad had talked about her so much. And then she says to me, she's like, 생각보다 몸이 크네. It was like the first thing she said.
That is so Korean.
Yeah. And I was
That is
like,
crazy.
I had a lot of friends when I was younger that were Korean that was like typical Korean body, size 0. I was always like a size 4.
Yeah.
But at the time, I had just gotten out of my relationship. So I was actually a lot heavier than what was my normal adult weight.
Yeah.
And so she said that, and I was immediately upset. Like the whole day. And more than that, I was upset about how much I was upset about it.
Because you took it to heart, and you
Yeah.
feel like you shouldn't have taken it to heart.
I cried later that
Wow,
night. Yeah, I
okay.
was so upset and I was like, see, this is exactly why I don't come
Wow,
here.
yeah.
And then I went back home and I kind of thought about it and it made me think like, what if I separated myself so much that I don't know how to control my own emotions?
Yeah.
And I allow people to have that power.
Right.
And I was like, I don't want to do that anymore. I don't want to be that way anymore. I don't want anyone to have that type of control over me. And so, yeah, so then I decided, like, what if I need to go to the place that didn't allow me to love myself to truly be able to unconditionally love myself?
Ooh, girl, that's deep.
Yeah.
That sounds like
Yeah.
it takes even a lot of like, excuse me. It takes like, I'm gonna die.
You good girl. Let it out. Let it out.
I'm not trying to spread nothing out here. Sorry, but
I appreciate that. I appreciate
yeah, I don't want to
it.
be like, and it's just going to you.
Girl,
So-
these Korean people, they're just like, and
You're just like,
nobody taught you manners or what? Like, what's happening?
apparently they weren't taught in school.
I don't think so. And
Yeah.
I just kind of like my thoughts about it. Korea became a first world country so fast.
Yes, very fast.
So the social aspects that most first world countries learn, they didn't.
haven't learned,
So
yeah.
they have a very survival mode mentality.
Yes. Yeah, at least kids these days do seem like they're learning. I do
Yeah.
get the bless you, I do get the excuse me a little bit more now, but
Yeah.
the older generation,
Yeah.
I'm like, it's okay if you cover
They're-
your mouth, you know?
Yeah.
Just cover your mouth.
They're
Please, thank
a
you.
whole other
Girl.
breed.
Yes. Sorry. I like how we were like so deep into it, and then now we're just
We're
like, completely
those
out of it.
Koreans, man, with their
They call
ill
me
mannered
sneezing.
behavior.
I'm sorry, but it has to take a lot of like, you know, emotional, like an emotional toll on you to like get to that point where you're like, I need to go back to Korea.
Yeah.
How did you deal with that?
Honestly, it felt like, you know how when you roller skate for the first time
Yeah.
and then you wear like knee pads, like elbow pads, helmet. That's
Yeah.
how I felt going in. Like I was ready to get beat up.
Yeah. Cha.
Is
Cha.
is really how I went into it because I didn't know I didn't expect, quite honestly,
Yeah.
I didn't expect anything positive to come out of it.
Because it had always been so negative before, right?
Exactly.
Like you didn't see Korea as like this. Because, you know, it's interesting when you were speaking, I was thinking about it. And Korea, when you were, you know, you had your love for Korea, Korea was not really popular in the
Yeah.
global sense, right?
Yeah.
But when you started, you know, having, I don't know if I want to say a dislike or a distaste towards Korea, Korea was booming at that time. Like
Yeah.
everybody's like, Korea, Korea, Korea.
Yeah, yeah.
How was that for you? Like everybody loving Korea, but you as a Korean not loving Korea.
It was kind of weird, to be honest. It was kind of weird. I think especially being an Asian person in the States,
Yeah.
you always have this like, do you like me or do you have yellow fever? Like it's kind of that's
Yes.
like that's the thing, and that goes for any other race too, right?
But for Korea specific, especially because you're like, it's gonna sound weird to say this, you're not just Asian, you're Korean.
yes,
And like everybody's like K-pop, K-pop, K-pop,
Yeah.
and you're just like, do you like me or is it the K-pop? Like
Yeah.
which one is it? Yeah, I can.
Yeah.
Oof, cha.
and it's even more prominent now. Like
Oh,
I went to my mom lives in my mom and my sister live in California. I went into this donut shop that was owned by a Vietnamese person, and he looks at me and he says, "Are you Korean?" And I was like, Yeah.
Yeah.
And he was like, I thought so, there aren't many Korean people here, but
Yeah.
I looked at you and I was like, yeah, she's Korean.
She's not Vietnamese.
And so it's like a weird thing. It's like
bet.
a weird, you're a trophy
Yeah,
Asian.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
it's like,
You guys have been like bumped up like suddenly because of
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
the how you wave. So
Yeah.
That has to be so weird.
I know, and there are people like my mom is like, we're so proud of
Yeah.
Korean people like Samsung,
Yeah.
Hyundai, and I was like, yeah, but also it's honestly it's a little weird. It feels sometimes I think people genuinely like it, but sometimes it does feel a little fetishized or like a little romanticized.
Yeah.
Like Korea has become the new Paris.
Oh my!
You
And
know what
Paris
I
ain't all
mean?
that. Let me
Yeah.
start by saying that I've gone to Paris and I was like, what is this? So like when you say Korea is romanticized, 100%.
For sure.
100%.
Yeah. And I think especially because I grew up very deep in my Korean culture. And so when people are like, oh my God, like, what's the word? Like, not oppa, but there's like a specific word that they use for Korean men. Is there not
There
one?
is?
Am I making it up?
Because the first thing I thought was you were gonna say Korea, boo.
Yes. Okay.
Korea?
Yes. Okay.
Go
That
Korea,
thing.
boo.
That
Okay.
thing.
Yeah.
And for me, it's like I know so much generationally, like what is built into Korean culture, and like my grandparents it was an arranged marriage,
Yeah.
and like
Oh wow.
yeah,
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, which is
Okay.
I don't think it's very common.
It's not because I've never heard of a Korean marriage that's arranged.
Yeah. My
Wow,
grandparents were
okay.
arranged,
Yeah.
and so I grew up with K dramas, but it's like I watch these people and they're like, oh my God, I want to go to Korea. Korea's so great. I'm
Yeah.
like, there are amazing things about Korea, but at the same time, it's a little like you think that way because you're a foreigner
And because
you
you're
know?
watching these things.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
when you are Korean, I think it is a little
Yeah.
different. Because you've grown up with Koreans around you and you're like, we're great,
Exactly.
but we're also not great. That's how I feel
Yeah.
about like me. I'm Kenyan, American. Sometimes I'm like, yeah, Kenyans are great, but also there's a lot of stupidity that goes around. You
For
know, it's
sure.
like that.
Yeah.
There's no race or ethnicity that's 100% perfect,
Yeah.
to be honest. But okay, sorry.
No,
That's
no.
Something I just wanted to get out there, guys. I'm sorry. I hop around.
We had to.
topics.
It was a
Yeah, I'm
necessary-
sorry.
it was
like to be
necessary.
honest, I was gonna ask her about the whole arranged marriage thing, but I feel like people are like, "Girl, shut up! That's not what we were caring about." I hop topics so bad. It's so bad. Take me back to when you
Yes.
first came to Korea and you decided that you're coming, right? What was your parents' reaction to that?
Honestly, my dad's reaction was very subtle. I thought
Okay.
so. He moved back to Korea when I was 19.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So, okay. Yeah.
My grandma, so my 친할머니, she got diagnosed with Alzheimer's, and so he had told us that he was going to move back. So
Okay.
he moved back, and he
Yeah.
didn't come back to the States after that. So he always told me like, come for 3 months and stay with me, and I
Yeah.
was like, I don't know about that.
Yeah.
And like, I'm good, appa. So when I told him, he was like, okay. And then I was like,
That's
you're not as excited about this as I
Yeah.
thought.
He's like,
And-
okay, come through.
Yeah.
Do you feel like it was just outwardly he wasn't showing the excitement, but inwardly he was probably really
I think
excited?
so.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah.
My dad is you tell him something, he has to think about it, and then he'll express
Yeah.
what he has to process. He's a
Right.
very, he takes his time.
Yeah.
And so my mom, I was actually more nervous about telling my mom because
Oh.
I was born and raised in California.
Yeah.
But I moved to Portland, Oregon when I was 26. So I lived there for 4 years before I moved here.
Yeah.
And when I moved there, it was this whole thing. My mom was
Really?
really upset about it.
Wow.
Yeah, she was like, you must be leaving because you don't like me. And I
She
was
took it to
like,
heart.
it was really difficult for her. And
Yeah.
so I was really anxious about telling her. And then I told her, and she was like, yeah, I think it would be really great for you. I think your dad would really love it.
Yeah.
And I was like, who?
Who are you? What have you done with my mom?
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, so both of them had positive reactions to it.
Do you think it's because they also kind of knew that you needed that connection with Korea?
Possibly. I
Yeah.
think for my mom, for both of them, I think it was more like it would be nice because my dad doesn't have any immediate family in
okay.
Korea.
Yeah.
And so I think that they thought, like work-wise too, maybe I could do something else here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. And in your form, you had called this mission, right?
Yes.
I'm gonna bleep that word out because YouTube, you know,
Right.
get childish about that word. Your
What's the
self-delutation.
word? Unaliving mission.
Your emotional unalive.
Yes.
She's smart. I like
Yes.
her. Okay. Your emotional unaliving mission, right?
Yes.
Why did you call it that?
I called it that because I knew I was actively walking into a situation that could potentially break me down.
Okay. Yeah.
Like I was already at a kind of fragile mental state, I would say. And so because I was walking into it thinking that this could really just break me apart and just, I don't even know who I could be at the end of that.
Yeah.
And so that's why I called it that.
Did you have even like a single positive thought going into it?
My positive thought was that I would be able to spend time with my dad, and that I think because I went to culinary school right after high school and started working at such a young age, I was really ready to kind of breathe a little bit. Like my dad was telling me, my parents are very not typically Korean parents. And so my dad was like, come stay with me, just relax, don't work, like just breathe. Yeah.
Oh, because you never had a break.
No.
School, work.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, that's very nice of
so
him to
I
do
started
that.
working since I was like 18.
That's really young.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing like traveling the world was not really even on
No.
the table at the time.
Yeah. Not even experience the dorm room.
Girl, it wasn't all that.
college.
It's fine. It wasn't all that.
But you know, like just kind of the phase where you can just kind of mess around, make
I know what
mistakes.
you mean. Party, go to
Yeah.
frat parties. Like you didn't get
Yeah.
that life. You
Yeah.
just got work, adulthood.
Yeah.
Yeah, you became an adult quick actually.
I
now that I
did,
think about
yeah.
it. Okay.
Yeah,
So you ended up coming to Korea, and how was it?
It was really traumatic. At the
Was
beginning.
it?
At the
Okay.
beginning. So I had 3 cats.
Okay. Oh, I have one cat.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think actually, did you post your cat
I
on
post all
your
the
story
time. Yeah.
yesterday?
Oh, yeah, I
So your
did.
cat
Yeah.
looks like my cat.
Stop.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna have to look at
Yeah,
your cat
we're
before,
gonna.
after. Yeah.
we're-
Oh my god.
yeah.
Okay.
I was
Mia
like,
might have a sibling out there.
I was like, she looks like Luna. What the?
Oh, Luna. Her name is Luna.
Her name is
Oh,
Luna.
Mine is Mia. A girl or
See?
a boy?
Girl.
Oh, I have a girl too.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
could be
But
sisters,
she
y'all.
has the like Luna also her fur, like the peak,
Yeah.
the white peak in
Yeah,
it
yeah, yeah.
goes that
It's
way
over-
too.
I'm so curious.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, they must
Sorry,
be the same
guys.
breed.
Yeah, sorry, guys. People are like, we don't care about y'all cats. Happens with cat moms, guys.
I know
Yeah.
it does. It does. But one of my cats passed away 2 days after I got here.
Wow.
Yeah, and it happened really suddenly. He wasn't feeling good. We got on the flight. I took him to the vet, which
Yeah.
was also really. I used to say I was fluent in Korean, but I would say that I'm pretty proficient. But I've never been to the vet, the
yeah.
hospital. Like I've never had to use those medical terms,
Yeah,
and so
yeah.
I was so overwhelmed. But we brought him, and he just like declined really fast, and they basically said all of his organs were in overdrive, and that
Okay.
and I took him to the hospital, and then 4 a.m. that morning he had passed.
And
so
was it like no reason that it happened?
they weren't sure. They said because they didn't know his medical history, it was hard to tell.
Yeah.
But he had a UTI 7 years ago, which with cats, UTIs are very serious. In comparison to humans, like
Yeah.
humans, it's like kind of you get a UTI, you take
treat it,
antibiotics,
yeah,
you get over
yeah.
it. But with cats, it usually means that their kidneys will not function properly the older they get.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Okay,
so you
okay.
have to be more cautious about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it was like he was totally fine. I got him his checkup a month before we left. They
Yeah.
said he was fine, and then he wasn't, and so my body just shut down.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah,
Because that's
it-
like losing, like, I understand some people don't think it's serious, but that's like losing a child.
Yeah,
It's like your child. That's a baby right there
he
for
was
you.
my baby.
Yeah.
And so even my dad, he when I talked to him about it, he he said to me, like, you know, because he lost his parents, both his parents at that point, but he was like, you know, I've never lost a child, so I don't really know what to say to you to make you feel better.
Yeah, yeah.
And so I had him for 11 years, and
that's a long time.
yeah,
That is a long time. Oh, wow.
So it was like that happened, and I was just like, my body couldn't survive anymore.
Yeah,
My body
yeah.
was like, I went to this really deep grief depression, and then I actually was at Itaewon on Halloween that year.
So you had to go through that too.
Yeah, so that was like another thing, and I was like, what is happening?
Wow. Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
what is this? And
Yeah.
so, yeah, it was a lot coming in.
I bet.
Yeah. I think already having been in a place where I was trying to pick myself back up, and it was like I just got like thrown down once
Right
again.
back. Yeah. How did you try to get out of that darkness?
It took me a while, to be quite honest.
I bet.
Yeah.
It doesn't sound easy at all. Like at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I have dealt with depression before, but this was like a whole nother. It was a grief I had never experienced before. It was a grief that affected me every single day.
Oh my God.
You know, because it was like I used to prepare 3 food bowls, and suddenly I only had to prepare 2,
Yeah.
and he was my most vocal one. So it was like the only time in my life where I had this constant reminder every day, and I couldn't get myself to do anything. I was just like on my phone all the time, like trying to get myself to ignore any type of pain that I was feeling.
Yeah, just numb yourself somehow. Yeah.
And then later on, like my dad, I kept thinking about something my dad said, because at the time, my dad is actually one of 7.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And my grandma had lost 2 kids.
Oh.
And so
Wow. Okay.
he said to me, like, I remember, I think it was the second day after he had passed. I was just like laying down and I was crying, and he walked over to me and he was like, you know, I know it hurts. I know it's hard, and you're going to feel this, but at the same time, you still have 2 of your other babies that you need to take care of. And so even if you don't survive for yourself, you have to survive for them.
The other cats,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, which I know sounds so serious, but it's because they're cats.
Nah, it's still
But
serious for us.
yeah.
We're cat mothers.
Yeah, it was, so I thought about that a lot, and it was kind of like I did little things here and there. I actually know Fabio.
Oh, okay.
That's how I found out about this podcast.
Oh,
yeah.
okay. Shout out Fabio. Okay.
Hey, Fabio.
Yeah.
I know him from the dance community.
Yeah.
So,
so you do salsa and bachata
yeah,
also. Okay,
yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Nice.
So,
Okay.
I did the one thing that made me happy, that I knew was going to keep me happy, and I think having that to go to on a weekly basis definitely helped a lot. And then I'm someone that's very good at hiding my emotions in social settings. So most people don't. I think when most people see me, they don't think of me as someone that has dealt with depression or has to deal with anxiety. And so I think that was kind of like the stepping stone. And then later, I think 6 months afterwards, I started co-hosting a meetup group for digital nomads.
Oh, wow.
Because I'm also interested in that life.
Yeah,
and so meeting other people and kind of just figuring out a new purpose for myself ended up helping me kind of
Get out of that.
Yeah.
And do you think it was also harder? No. Do you think, I'm trying to like say this in a way that it doesn't sound like I'm just ignoring the fact of what you just said.
No.
But do you think being in Korea at that time also made it harder, or also made you fall into that dark place faster?
100%.
Okay, because I was like, am I crazy for thinking that? Oh, thank
No.
gosh. Okay.
100%.
Yeah.
Especially because I'm a very, I can't be in big cities. They drive me crazy. And so Korea specific, if you've never been to Korea, it's very visually overwhelming.
It's a lot.
Yeah. There's advertising in your face all the time. And so for me, I didn't even go outside because there's like a hiking trail behind my dad's house, which is very naturey.
Yeah.
But on the opposite side of that, it's like these streets with just like 10 buildings
City.
in one building. You know what I mean? And
yeah,
so,
like Seoul, like
yeah.
just, yeah.
And I was just like, I can't do this. And I think the fact that there's skyscraper buildings everywhere, and you can hardly see the sky.
Yeah, you can barely see it.
Yeah, which I think I don't think people realize about Korea. If you're a big naturey person,
Yeah.
there's definitely nature that you can find, but
Yeah.
it's difficult. It's not the same.
You definitely have to get out of Seoul completely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
even
yeah,
then,
yeah.
you have to go to like very untouched cities
Yeah.
for you to experience nature in
For sure.
Korea, I think.
Yeah.
So I completely understand that. How did you prepare yourself emotionally and mentally before moving to Korea?
Honestly, I didn't.
You just threw yourself in.
Yeah, I didn't. I actually, I came here beginning of May.
Yeah.
And I decided to move here September.
Okay.
So everything happened within 4
Super
months.
fast.
Yeah.
So it was just like okay, I'm doing this.
Well, I was actually planning on moving to Scotland at the beginning of the following year.
That's different. Okay.
Yeah. And I was telling my friend Sarah about it because she also lives in Scotland, and
Yeah.
so I told her that maybe I needed to be in a place that made me hate myself, and I needed to be surrounded by that hate, as I said earlier, to unconditionally love myself.
Yeah, yeah.
And at the time, she was like, I completely understand, but at the same time, maybe you also need love.
Yeah.
And I was like, I get that, but for me, it felt like there was a roadblock. And I needed to process it, even if it hurt. I
Yeah.
needed to do this
Yeah.
to move forward with my life. I felt like it was something that was going to keep me in my old patterns. It was going to make me get into the same relationships, not just romantically, but
Yeah, even
friendships-wise
friendships, yeah.
too. And I was tired of allowing kind of anger be the main emotion that I felt. I didn't want that anymore. So I
Yeah.
wanted to kind of release that.
Yeah, yeah.
So I guess those were the thoughts that I had before coming in, but I honestly had no idea what was going to happen once I got here.
Oh, that's so interesting. I don't know if that's brave or stupid. Girl,
Girl,
I'm sorry. I don't
that's
know.
why I said it's not easy. It's not for the faint of heart.
Because like I feel like I don't know how you're still here. Because
Yeah.
to throw yourself in a country where it gives you like it didn't really give you any happiness. Only your dad was your happiness at
Yeah.
that time. But to
Yeah.
throw yourself in that when you have other options, that's like just blows my mind.
Yeah.
And then for you to still be here, something clearly happened where now you actually like, right? Being in Korea? Do you like being in Korea? Damn, Stacy don't like being in Korea.
Yeah.
Okay, so 2 years then. What happened
2
in
years.
those 2 years?
What happened during those 2 years?
Yeah,
Did you say?
because I was like, do you like being Korean? And you're like,
I
who chat?
I appreciate my journey in Korea,
Yeah.
but I do feel as though my chapter here is kind of coming to an end.
Only
Yeah.
2 years.
Yeah, yeah.
Why do you say that?
It's really hard for me, and I realized
Oh.
this because I've always been very drawn to Europe. I always wanted to move to the UK.
Yeah.
And I think maybe you feel this way too, especially because you're also an American that's living in Korea. But I have no intentions of moving back to the States.
I don't either.
It doesn't fit who I am. And so
Yeah.
for me, Korea was always a kind of transition place for me. So I knew I wasn't going to stay forever.
Yeah.
But I think mainly because I'm a little tired of fighting.
Fighting what? Who you fighting?
I'm not fighting
throwing
like
hands?
people.
Just
I did
swinging?
get into a fight with a taxi driver like 6 months ago.
What?
Yeah, because he was being so irrational. Like I was parked on the side and he had to go through the alleyway, but you know, like the small alleyway, and I was like, "Sir, I'm parked. You can go around."
And he was like, nah.
Yeah, and he was like, oh, but you're not even, like, you shouldn't even park here. Your tire's like this much out of the line. And so I was like, 그럼 제가 어떻게 해드릴까요?
Should have been like flyover.
Yeah, I was like, 차 더 작게 만들어 드릴까요? And he was like,
Yeah.
like he was so
Shocked.
in shock that I was speaking to him this way. And I was like, sir, I'm not going to
Listen.
inconvenience my life.
Because of you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, thank
But
you.
he was like, I'm older than you.
Yeah, but one of the main things is like how visually stimulating it is. I
Yeah.
get super overwhelmed when I go
Right.
outside.
Yeah.
So I don't leave the house quite often, which I started going on walks.
Sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I started going on walks because
Yeah.
I was like, I need to get out of the house. Like, I need vitamin D. I'm super deficient right now. And so I started going on walks. But I think it's not, Korea's not a place where I feel at peace. And I felt that a lot more when I was in Europe in April. I went to Switzerland, France, and Spain. And when I was in Spain, I was so content, like just like walking around, seeing people, and I think I love a place that has history. And people don't realize this about Korea. It's that there is a lot of history in Korea, but within the city, there's like no history.
Not really.
It's very modernized. It's very industrial, and so it's not a place where like if you go to Paris or if you go to Barcelona or like London, there's parts of buildings where you can see that there's history built into it, and that really speaks to my soul a lot. So in Korea, it's really difficult for me to be here because everything looks exactly the same. And so that part of it's really hard. And I think I have an amazing friend here. My friend Karen, I love her so much. But I think the people in Korea are not my people, is how I feel. Like I feel like I'm ready to move forward and I feel stuck here.
Wow.
Yeah.
So even in friendship relationships, you feel stuck. Like there's no.
Not with this friend particularly, but I think in Korea, most people generally tend to be quite superficial. And I'm a very deep person. Like you'll know so much about me in 30 minutes. And so for me, I need meaningful conversations. And so when I meet Korean people, and actually I don't really have many Korean friends after living here, but it's the same way I feel about American people. I think they keep things very superficial, and I'm just not that kind of person.
You want like deeper relationships.
Is
that how, did you feel like you couldn't get that when you go to Spain or if you move out of Korea?
I think so, because I think people are just not the open-minded that people use in Korea, like not that definition.
Everybody in this channel knows what we're talking about. Yeah, not that open-minded guys.
But in I think, and that's why I was very drawn to London when I went for the first time, because I'm a very spiritual person.
Yeah.
And so when I was in London, I told someone that I was spiritual, and they were like, "Oh, okay, yeah." And in the States, it was never that way. People questioned me all the time, like, "What do you mean spiritual? Why are you spiritual?" You know, and so
my dad was like, "What do you mean spiritual?" In my head, I was like, "What does that mean?"
Sorry. No.
The American side of me popped out.
No, that's okay. That's okay. I believe in energy. I believe in the universe.
Okay, I should have known that's what you meant. I know what spiritual means then. I'm sorry to cut you off.
It's okay.
Yeah.
You just need to clarify.
So Spanish people you didn't feel like they were being intrusive almost?
I didn't, and I think because I'm a very friendly person, I have a very difficult time around people who are very cold.
Oh, okay.
And so I kind of felt that same way when I went to France too. Like there are friendly French people, but culturally they're not a very warm.
Yeah, they're not. Yeah.
You know, and
no offense.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, I felt the same way too. It's okay, girl. But now, as soon as I got to the airport, I was like, oh. Y'all don't like anybody. Like if you can't speak
like
French,
yourself.
they don't like you. I'm just like, if you don't speak
yeah.
French, they're not.
Yeah,
they're not.
Yeah, I try. I try. Whenever I go to a different country, I try. I try to know at least some phrases. But so with with Korea, Korean people can be warm.
Yeah.
They can be, but it takes time.
Yeah.
For them to be
You have to
warm
like
to
work
you.
in that relationship.
Yeah. Whereas I also, because I worked in kitchens at such a young age, I
Mm-hmm.
worked with a lot of Latin people and
Yeah.
Hispanic people, and like they are very warm people.
Mm-hmm.
And when I remember my friend's mom called me Mija,
Yeah.
and
Aw.
I was like,
That's so
really?
cute.
And that kind of thing, it's like it makes me feel so warm. And
Yeah.
so I think that's one of the things that I'm missing here, which I think a lot of people think Americans are open-minded too, but I don't believe that they are.
Because you lived in Cali. People think Cali is like, woo.
No, yeah. I mean,
not like
I
that.
guess so, but it's kind of more an outer mask that they're doing. It's like you have to look a certain way. You have to. Well, of course, it depends on the area that you live
Right.
in California. But
Right.
I was born and raised around Los Angeles.
Okay.
And so it's just a very materialistic, very
Yeah,
superficial.
LA is kind of materialistic.
Yeah. Which is why I moved to Portland,
Mm-hmm.
and Portland was very different. And I think people really try their best to be open to understanding people
Yeah.
as opposed to judging them. And I
Right,
think those are
right.
the two differences.
Okay, that's interesting. I never
Yeah.
like. It seems like for you, Spain has so many good memories,
Yeah.
and then Korea has like a mixture.
Yes.
I would say a mixture because I'm
For
sure
sure.
you've had good memories,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
What
yeah,
are some
yeah.
memories that you think when you think of Korea, you're like, you know what? In those 2 years, this happened, so it's okay. Like, do you have any of those memories?
During the 2 years that I have been
Yeah.
living here. Yeah, there's a lot of things like the relationship that I have with my dad is
Yeah.
so different.
Okay.
Because he left when I was 19,
Mm-hmm.
it was like we had to relearn
Each
who
other,
we
yeah.
were.
Yeah.
And it was so funny. It's things like I used to be on dating apps. I can't do them anymore. But when I first moved here and I didn't really know anybody, I
Yeah.
was like, okay, it's a way for me to meet someone.
Right.
And my dad was like, oh, you're gonna go on a date? How was your date? Or
Aw.
like if I'm at home, he was like, how come you're not going on a date? Like, go on one. And I was like,
get out
Appa,
of the
you know, it's
house.
so
Get out."
tiring. I'm so tired.
Yeah, parents don't understand how tiring that is.
yeah.
It's so tiring.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
that's really cute. 'Cause
Yeah.
I don't know if this is your case, but when I was younger, my parents weren't very like, "Ooh, who are you meeting? Are you meeting a boy?" You know.
Yeah.
But like now that I'm older, they're like, "So when are you getting married? Can you hurry up and get married?"
Yeah.
So like, is that the dynamic you have with your dad now, where he's very like, "Oh, enjoy your life, have fun, meet people."
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's
He's
cute.
I think especially because he knows that I do want to get married
Yeah.
and I do want to have children. And so he's not worried about that. My mom is kind of more like things here and there. Like I just saw her last month and
Yeah.
what did she say? She was like I think we walked by like a maternity area and my mom was like, "Oh, I wonder how Stacy will look pregnant."
Oh,
and I was like, "No pressure, Mom."
Just like, yeah, hurry up.
Yeah. So she says
Yeah.
like little things here and there, but they don't push me so much about it. And
Yeah.
I think it's because I have been more vulnerable with them and letting them know kind of my thoughts. And
Yeah.
I think that has also allowed them to create space for me
Mm-hmm.
and not like pushing so hard on something.
And it doesn't seem like they parent you as much anymore.
No, and I
Yeah.
think it's also, but they never really did when I was younger
Mm-hmm.
either. My dad says this all the time. He was like, when you're little, you act like an adult, so I always treated you like one.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So
Uh-huh.
my parents say that I was the child that they didn't have to worry about,
Mm-hmm.
which ended up creating a lot of like hyper independence for myself. So
Yeah.
that was also something that I learned how to rely on someone.
Yeah.
And having my dad here. And so, yeah, there's a lot of positive memories. I have positive memories with like friends and just kind of really, truly growing into myself and
Yeah.
being kind of solidifying who I am. And I have been meeting people where I'm just genuinely myself, and they're like, thank you so much. Like, I really enjoyed meeting you, and thank you for being so authentic with me. And so for me, it was kind of like, whoa, you know, I'm just being myself, but this is making a positive impact on someone's life. This is wild.
Those type of relationships are the best, though.
Yeah.
When you don't feel like you have to fake who you are.
Yeah.
Like, you can be weird, and somebody's like, you know what? I like you weird. Yeah. Like, I'm also
I
weird.
like you
so
like
it's
this.
fine.
I like a little spice.
Yeah. Like, you don't want to have a boring friend in your life. So, like, that's, like, really nice. In the beginning, you had said that you had a very strange relationship with Korea, right?
Mm-hmm.
And now you've lived here for 2 years. Do you feel like you've solved those thoughts of, like, you know, Korea's bad, Korea's not great? Like,
Yeah, I think so. There are still things I don't like about Korea. Just like there are things I don't like about America. There are things culturally that I will never think it's okay, but it's kind of just, there's an acceptance of this is just how it is for some people, and I don't need to change that. That's not my responsibility. But there were also positive things, like I remember I went to, it was one of the first salsa bars I went to, and the bar onni was like, oh my gosh, you're so like sexy. And I was like, who?
After all the negative things you had been hearing.
Because Korean people, it was always like, oh, like you're too fat, you're too ugly, like you're not pretty enough. And so when she said that, I was like, what? Like it was like this level of validation that I didn't know that I needed. And then she brought me like some beer afterwards. She was like, oh, I just want to bring this because you're pretty. And I was like,
that's so
what is
sweet.
happening?
That is so sweet.
Yeah.
Oh, that's I want to meet her too, so she can tell me I'm sexy
sweet.
too. Have you found any unexpected aspects of Korean culture that have contributed to your healing process?
I would say when people meet me, and I think when Korean people meet me, they know that I'm not Korean because of the way that I dress.
The way you carry yourself is not Korean for sure.
And I think to them I'm kind of like this breath of fresh air when I meet them, because they talk about things with me that I think they normally wouldn't talk about. Maybe with their friends, but like with strangers, right? And so I remember this woman was like, well, we were talking about dating, and she was like, oh, like, I want to ask this question, but I don't know if I should. Like, she was being very timid about it. And I was like, are you trying to ask me about sex? And she was like, yeah. And I was like, yeah. Tell me, what?
Like,
what about it?
Yeah.
Let's talk about it.
She would definitely not talk to anybody, another stranger like that at all. Like, sex is like such a hush-hush thing. Yeah. They don't really talk about it.
But I think it's like, it's a normal human
we're adults.
thing. We have to.
Yeah.
We have to talk
we're
about
adults.
it.
Like, you have to talk about it for sure. But yeah, that's so true. They're very hush-hush about it.
They're super hush-hush.
It's really interesting.
Yeah.
Because it's like, it's part of life, guys.
Yeah.
I mean, don't go telling everybody and anybody your business, for sure. That's a little
For sure.
weird.
Yeah.
But like, you know, to somebody you're comfortable with, I feel like
Yeah. And
that's normal.
I could see that they want to have this space. But it's hard because for so long it's like, you know, the fact that we have a very hierarchy system built into our culture, like it's hard to talk about these things. So I see that there are changes that people want to make and are trying to make. But I definitely think it'll take time to kind of change the entirety of culture.
That's for sure. I think culture is just something that's like deeply rooted, that it's even the bad things are hard to change. It takes so long to change. I feel like Koreans of nowadays are just kind of like, I'm tired of trying to change it. It's just like, if it changes, it changes. If it doesn't, oh well. It's kind of like that.
It's totally understandable because sometimes it's like, sometimes it's not your job, and sometimes you just need to accept it, and it is what it is.
It literally is what it is. Yeah. Sometimes I'm also like, because there is also this whole thing being black in Korea where I feel like I have to be the one to teach Koreans about black culture. I don't feel like that anymore. I'm like, I'm not doing it. Google's your best friend. Go for it. Yeah, it's not my job. So I completely understand when people are just like, if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But what is some advice you would give someone who is maybe like not Korean, like Korean American, Korean Australian, whatever type of Korean, you maybe. If they're trying to embark on the same journey you went on, what's some advice that you would give them?
I would say if there's something about your culture, something that's kind of like a boulder that's chaining you down. I think this is something, it's not easy. It's so hard. And every day I have to give myself a breather of just not being so emotionally taken down. But I think that sometimes you need to do things for yourself that are difficult in order for you to take the power back that was kind of taken away from you without you even realizing it happening.
Yeah.
And so I think sometimes you have to dig a little deeper. You have to go to your roots in order to heal something that you didn't even know needed to be healed.
In the beginning, you had said that, you had gone to therapy to figure out like what the root of, this despise that you had to Korea was. Do you know what made you feel that way towards Korea, or is that something you've never been able to like know?
Why I had such a negative opinion about Korea?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what it is?
Yeah. It was kind of, so I grew up like Korean was my first language. My parents don't speak much English. I mean, they speak more English now, but at the time they didn't really. And so I grew up around a lot of Korean people. Like the city that I grew up in was like 50% Asian people.
Oh, wow.
And
Okay.
I went to a Korean church. And so I realized it was the part that constantly made me feel like I wasn't enough. Like that was, there's a saying in Korean where they say, 2% 부족해.
You're 1%,
it's like,
not enough, 1%.
It's missing 2%. 2%, yeah.
Sorry.
No,
1 and 2 is the same.
I might have said it wrong.
No. E and E sound so similar to me.
They do.
Yeah.
And so for me, it was like, that's the culture of Korea when you're Korean, right? It's like, it's always, you're not enough, or how can you be better? It's never that like just me simply being myself is enough. So that's where that came from. And Korea also, why I strayed away from it was Korea was kind of like, which I guess will be hard for people to understand because of how Korean dramas are and how romantic they are. But Korea was actually kind of where my idea of love died. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
let's dig into that a little bit. What do you mean by that? Like, what do you mean by that? I'm scared for you. I'm sorry.
No. So my parents
Yeah.
were together for 7 years before they got married. And they were my idea of love. Like they were long distance for 4 years. And long distance, like back then, like my mom was in the States, my dad was in Korea. They were waiting for each other's letters, kind of like long distance. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So I was like, oh my gosh, like this is love, you know?
Yeah.
And then I came to Korea, and at the time, like I said, when I came, I think I was 20. It was kind of like where my rose-colored glasses came off. I found out about my grandparents being in arranged marriage, and at the time it was like a lot of people my parents' age, I realized didn't really love each other. They just got married because it was what you were supposed to do.
And they tolerated each other. Yeah.
So I was like, and then at the time my parents, because my dad moved back to Korea, I was like, what does this mean for the two of you, you know? And so it was like that period of time, I couldn't understand how there couldn't be love, right? And like how these people couldn't have gotten married because they were so deeply in love with each other. And so that's why it was like my idea of love kind of got shattered, because I was there are definitely a lot of more like intimate things that are not my story to share, so I'm not saying it, but because that had happened, I was like, wow, will I ever find the love that I really want for myself? You know?
Girl, that's I don't know if you will either because I haven't. So.
I'm trying. I'm manifesting. I'm being positive here.
I'm trying.
It exists.
Yeah,
it
it does.
exists.
Oh, for sure. For sure
For
it does.
you.
Yeah.
It exists for everyone.
Yes,
it
does.
exists.
Is there anything that you didn't get to say that you would want to say at this time before we close off the episode?
I don't know.
Let me ask you this, because
Okay.
I was actually curious. When you
Yes.
think of what happened now, the sending of, somebody's missing.
Someone's
somebody
always missing.
Always
it
somebody's
sounds
missing.
awful to be so like nonchalant about it,
We're
but
so
someone
blasé
is
about
always
it.
missing.
Like everyday thing, I was like,
yeah.
somebody's missing
Yeah.
again. Hopefully they get found.
Yeah,
at
yeah,
least.
yeah.
But when you think of something good about Korea, what do you think about?
When I think about something good about Korea, what do
Yeah.
I think about? That's not a person?
Not a person. Korea in general.
Jeju-do.
Oh wow! Okay.
Yeah,
Like
I
travel-
love Jeju-do. I
Jeju-do
don't
is
like
beautiful.
Korea a lot, but I love Jeju-do.
Yeah.
Jeju-do is like a whole other.
completely different.
Yeah.
And it's beautiful.
And the people are so nice.
They're so
If you ever come to Korea, I highly recommend Jeju-do.
Yeah.
Like it's very. I think people would fall in love with Korea more if they went to Jeju-do first.
It's Korea, but like an island. So I
Yeah.
feel like people are more chill.
Yeah, it's
if
like
that makes
way
sense.
better.
Yeah, and it's beautiful, and the food is good.
Yeah.
Because it's like near the sea and whatnot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love Jeju too. Like
Yeah.
it's super nice. If you think about, I wish this would change in Korea. What do you think about?
Oh.
She's like this,
just one
this.
thing.
or however many you want to tell.
I would say kind of the societal pressure. I wish changed. It was like, I think generationally, even with our parents, your children are like a trophy. And I think that part is so mentally draining and difficult for the children.
Yeah.
Because it's, again, it kind of ties into, I'm never going to be enough. What can I do to have your approval?
Yeah.
And I think I've been fortunate enough to have this artistic kind of field. Like I just started YouTube 2 months ago. And my mom, when I saw her, she was like, I told you to start 3 years ago and you're listening to me now?
Yeah, yeah.
And I was like, sorry,
My
Mom."
bad.
Yeah, because both my parents are entrepreneurs. So.
Yeah. Okay. And this is why they're so supportive of you going
Yeah.
on your journey. Yeah. That's really nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a big thing. I think people are trying to change that. They're trying to be more mindful about it, but I think that's a big thing. Yeah.
Is there anything else that you feel like should change?
Maybe I can't really say much about it because I haven't actually dated any Korean
Yeah.
men.
But you've been on dating apps, right?
I have, but I've only dated foreigners. Like I've only gone on dates with foreigners.
How has that
yeah.
been? Because I haven't.
Oh, you haven't? What?
Yeah.
Really?
Now I'm and is very foreign, so
Yes.
now it's gonna be more
Yes.
like foreigners.
Yeah.
But usually all my matches were Korean when I was on dating apps.
Oh.
All my matches. I've never matched with a foreigner in Korea.
Interesting. Okay,
Right?
so I would say I mainly use Bumble. I also use, but
Yeah.
yeah.
How was that been?
It was difficult because it's always people passing through.
Yes. Changes that.
Yeah.
Everybody's just passing through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or they're in the army,
Uh-uh.
and that's like yeah.
Thank you for your service.
Or it's like the kind of like conservative mindset that they have, and I think because I am such a I don't know if I want to say free spirited person, but if I have an idea and I want to do it, I have to go do it.
Yeah.
And I couldn't be tied to someone that has to stay somewhere.
And do something.
Yeah.
Because they
That
have a
would be really
contract signed
difficult.
with, that's a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Do you feel like, this is also a very random question, when you are on these dates with these foreigners, do you feel like you have to kind of hold their hand and navigate Korea for them?
Yeah.
Because they're like, oh, I don't speak Korean. But you do.
Yeah. Listen, I'm at a point in my life where like I'm so tired of taking care of people.
child. Yeah.
I can take care of you. Can you take care of me? I need to know that. And
Exactly.
so I remember like I went on a date with this guy and we were in the taxi and he had left like a trolley, like something he needed for work in a different taxi.
Oh.
And so the taxi driver called him. He was like, oh, hold on. and he passed the phone to me, and I was like, 여보세요?
I don't know what's going on.
Yeah. And I was like,
my God.
Yeah. So yeah, for sure.
I would get so sick of that.
Yeah.
Because it's not fun. It's like, are you just using me at this point? Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's also part of the reason why I'm ready to
Move on.
leave too. And I think it's because I just who I am as a person, I'm going to want to take care of you, but it's going to keep pulling energy out of me that I need to put into myself.
Yeah. Damn, it sounds like you have a hard time saying no to those people.
I used to.
Yeah.
I used to, but as of recently, I just like even friends. Like I recently kind of stopped being friends with two people, and I really. I was just talking to my friend about this the other day. I'm really at a point in my life where I just don't care. I don't care. You need to add value into my life as much as I am adding value into your life.
Yep.
And even if you're a friend that I've had for years, it doesn't matter to me. It's like if you're going to treat me a certain way, I'm not okay with it anymore.
Yeah. Just gotta
chop
them off.
Having been someone who's a very like people pleaser person, I think at one point you just get to you hit a point where you're just like, I can't. I'm
do it
so
anymore.
tired.
Because your energy is just going.
Yeah.
And they're not adding energy. They're just taking it. Yeah. So you just get tired. I'm also in your shoes. I don't know if you can tell. That's why I'm like, yeah. You just get tired.
It's
and
exhausting.
Like, nobody wants to meet someone that makes them tired.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah,
So I completely understand that.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. Are you comfortable with us ending the episode here?
Yeah.
Okay. Everything you wanted to say, you've said?
Yes.
Think about it? You good?
I think so. Yeah,
You good?
I think so.
You can always come back.
Yeah.
If you don't leave anytime soon,
I mean,
that
if you're
is.
gonna have me, I'm gonna come back.
Or you can always come back and tell a story or something. But anyways, guys, that was it for today's episode of Korea Unfiltered. I hope you guys enjoyed Stacy's story. Thank you so much for coming on the pod
Thank you
and
for
having
having
this
me.
conversation with us. I noticed sometimes we were talking and we would whisper.
Oh,
Like
did
when
we?
it was like a serious topic, we start talking like this, and I'm just like, "Why are we whispering?" Like serious topics, the voice just goes down, and I'm just
That's
like,
true.
Oh, yeah, because it's like a
That's
serious
true.
topic.
Yeah,
But anyways, guys, if you are not subscribed, make sure you subscribe, like, and share with your friends. If you are a podcast listener, don't forget to give us 5 stars so we can get up in the algorithm. But anyways, guys, that was it for today's episode, and I'll see you guys on the next episode. Bye, guys.